Hello everybody, welcome aboard the Piper Arrow. Today we're going to be taking this on a very quick flight, just about 1 hour from Albany, New York, over to Cortland, New York. Real world weather is on. You can see it looks like an absolutely beautiful day. It is a little bit windy, but not too bad. En route to Cortland, you'll see we're probably going to have a few showers / thunderstorms that we might have to deal with. In reality, is that a pretty big consideration? Yeah, but you know what? It's a video game, so we're going to have some fun with it today. Anyways, we're going to act like we're flying on an IFR flight plan, not use an ATC on VATSIM or in-game, because I'm way too lazy to deal with that right now. We're just going to go ahead and hop in, have some fun, get this pre-flight taken care of, and I'll talk to you guys just to give you a quick overview of the flight. See you soon. Hello everybody and welcome aboard the Piper Arrow. I do have a little bit of experience in this airplane in real life. Might not have much to show for it today because it's been a little while since I've flown this, and I also don't have my checklist up in front of me. We're just gonna full send it. So just to show you guys how to fire this airplane up, let's go ahead and close up that door. It's you got what, 3 points here. You gotta close this, latch it that way, and then yeah, all that. You get the idea for that. Let's get rid of this yoke just so we can see. Before firing up the engine, open this up just so we can shout. Electrics are all off. I'm going to turn my anti-collision light on. Let's just keep the beacon switch on for now. That's really all I care about. Props should be full forward. Mixture we'll leave cut for now. Just make sure all my other electrical switches are off, magnetos are off, and everything there looks fine. Alright, so to fire this up, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and prime this. Simply go battery on. And you can see things firing up there. Our gear is down 3 green, which is good. Mixture is going to go full rich. And we're going to go ahead and turn the fuel pump on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, cut. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure the propeller area is clear. Beacon lights on. Park and brake set. I'm going to hold down on my brakes as well. Don't forget the fuel selector too. Clear prop. It's not really clear, but we'll pretend it is. Then I just need to one hand on the throttle, one hand on my mouse. Hold that starter down. There we go. Introduce that mixture. And you can see it looks like it has fired up. There we go. I never really like the way it starts in the sim, because on one hand I have to juggle my hand between the mouse and my throttle. And then I also have to punch the mixture full up, which, you know, that's how this plane works. But anyways, our oil temperature's pressure is in the green. Let's see, temperature's rising, pressure's in the green. Everything is in the green. RPM set to 1,000. Fuel pump's off, and the mixture will actually lean out a little bit. There should be a guard on this airplane, right? Nope. Okay, there's not a guard on this airplane. That is very interesting. On the plane that I fly in real life, there's a little guard right here that prevents you from leaning the mixture too far out. We'll just leave it right there for now. Anyways, let's go ahead now and with the plane started, just grab the AWAS, punch in our flight plan, and get out of here.
Advise controller on initial contact. You have Quebec.
Okay, we have Quebec, and that confirmed we're taking runway 19er. We're going to go ahead and taxi up on Alpha all the way to runway 19er. Let me just punch in my flight plan real quick before I forget. Legal disclaimer, the airplane I fly in real life does not have a, what is this, a fucking 750 or something? Duplicates found, that's great. We're looking for the one, they're both the same. Okay. Yeah, I don't have this GPS in the plane I fly in real life, but that's okay, we'll figure it out as we go. That's part of the fun of this all, isn't it? Alright, let's go ahead and taxi up now. We're going to go ahead and, we have taxi light? No, we don't. So we're just going to go ahead and release that park and brake, tap the brakes. Yep, everything looks to be good, A-OK over there. Goodbye, good sir. We're going to go ahead and taxi out without a clearance. So this is very interesting. It almost feels as though my rudder pedals aren't properly centered, or at least not calibrated correctly. And I'm saying that because when I completely let go of my rudders, this thing is veering pretty sharply to the right. God, I hate how squiggly this feels. I mean, each time I try and correct it, it feels like the nose just wants to veer straight off to the side. There's that windsock. Look at how beautiful that is. Just almost as strong as it gets. That's awesome. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and we'll just taxi around to the very end there. That way I can angle myself into the wind without prop blasting anyone behind us. Right there should be good. Set that parking brake, bring that throttle up. I thought I told the yoke to go fuck itself. Anyways, now we're going to go ahead and do a quick run-up. So, just verify real quick that our flight plan is in and good to go. We're at 1200. We're now squawking 1200 in ALT. I wasn't earlier. Flight instruments are all good to go there. That looks to be about right on the southerly heading. Our airspeed indicator is there at 0. Turn coordinator, vertical speed, all that looks good. We should check that as we taxi. Our nav source is set to GPS, so that's going to be good. Alright, 2000 RPM set. We can close that up just so we can actually hear what we're doing. Verify our engine instruments are all in the green. We're going to check the left mag. Good drop. Back to both. Very slow recovery, but we did get one. We'll go to the right mag now. Okay, I'm happy with that recovery. Check our alternate air... Oh, no. Check our alternate air source. Alright, and now we gotta cycle the prop real quick before I forget, so just bring that down. We're looking for a change in, I believe it's manifold pressure first. Yep, there we go, that was good, and I saw a change in RPM when that happened too. And then the last thing I need to look for is a change in oil temperature, so we're gonna go, or sorry, oil pressure. Temperature has nothing to do with this, so just go ahead and reduce that. Yep, and you can see that change in oil pressure right there, excellent. For takeoff checks, we're going to go ahead and make sure that mixture is set to rich. Fuel pump, landing lights are all on. We've already done our departure briefing. Gears down, 3 green. Obviously, just want to make sure we're being aware of that since we are in a complex airplane today. And takeoff clearance is not required because it's just me on board. Flaps aren't required either. So final's clear. Runway is clear. Yes, I see that. Thank you very much. And we are, we'll say we're clear for takeoff. Who really cares?
8,400 feet
oh, I didn't ask you. 19er looks good. We'll go ahead and start to increase power. Very gently. Verified engine instruments are all in the green. And we'll go full power. Try and stay on top of these very wiggly rudders. There's airspeed alive, 50, 60, oh my god, the right rudder on this thing. And start to give it back pressure. If it'll even let me. There we go. Climb out at, we should be doing 79 initially. Yeah, a little bit more back trim would be good. And we're out of usable runway. Positive rate of climb gear is going to come up. Now we can transition to that VY of 90. Alright, there's 90. Go ahead and trim this thing out to a nice climb out. Just going to go ahead and keep my current power set until we're en route on our en route heading. Really should change this to not north up. I'd like to see this be my actual heading, my actual track up. And engine instruments are all looking good. $1,300. And there's 1400. We'll start that turn off now to the west. Do a nice standard rate. But right around here, start that rollout. Very gentle. No need to rush anything. Alright, that will look good. We'll go ahead and reduce our manifold pressure to 25. And my props I would like to reduce to 25 as well. Alright, there we go. That's a good cruise config set now. So 25, 25 squared. I'll go ahead now and just go into my flight plan, castle, direct to. Activate leg to castle. No, I need to hit direct to. No, not going to let me do that? Okay, that's fine. We'll go ahead and Oh, just, we're already en route, maps. We'll just intercept it, how about that? Passing 3,000 now, we'll go through a after takeoff check, so verified engine instruments are still looking A-okay. Verified my mixture. We'll go ahead and leave that rich for now, we'll lean it once we hit 8,000. Got my trim set up for 90, I could just trim it better just a little bit. There we go, so now we're in a good steady climb out. Gonna intercept our course here in just a few minutes, and should be looking good. Something I almost forgot with these constant speed props is that you actually have to continually, after you've boxed the throttle, go ahead and gradually, as you increase altitude, increase your throttle. Otherwise, you're actually losing manifold pressure just because of the reduced amount of air that's entering your air intake. Alright, yeah, looks like it just intercepted that course that we set up, so that's very nice of it. I would like to see, maybe once we hit cruise, just play with this GPS just a little bit, just because I'm not very familiar with it. But there we go, we're passing now 55, so we're making progress. Just need to keep gradually, oh, I'm actually already at full power, so that's as much manifold pressure as I'm going to get out of this thing. Okay, so real quick, right before I level off, just wanted to show you guys something real quick. If you look on ForeFlight here, you can see just to the northwest of us, probably at our 1 to 2 o'clock, it says there's a thunderstorm building. And I am very curious if we'll get to see that. It looks like on this sectional that it's right over the Mohawk Valley, and that's the Mohawk Valley right over there, so I am curious if we'll be able to see it. But yeah, because there's Sacandaga, there's the Mohawk, so we'll keep our eyes peeled. We'll go ahead and level off first, go through our cruise checklist items. Just 200 feet to go. It's really going to be as simple. Set our manifold pressure, set our props. We'll do probably 23, 24. We'll use 24. I mean, there's no need to go slow today. So now that we're almost leveled off, if I can actually get this fucker to level off, go ahead and set your props to, we'll use 2400 RPM. I didn't actually take a look at what the AeroPim says we should use for cruise. It's been like, what, 6 months since I've actually looked through that thing, so just playing a guessing game for now. We'll keep our manifold pressure as it is pretty high. What does that light say? Auto extension off, that's fine. We don't need fucking auto extension. And we are now en route at cruise, so we'll just monitor this, see how it behaves. I do feel like full throttle isn't really what we should be doing, so I'll just reduce it a little bit. We'll just fly what I have set up right here and see how it works out for us. Okay, so right as I started saying hello and welcome to whatever I was about to do, started picking up the AWOS, so we're going to go ahead and give a listen to that.
Number 03, automated weather observation, 220 Zulu. Wind, 198 at 6.
2973 on the altimeter, so that's going to be the same. Few clouds at 23, well, we'll be below that, so that's going to work out for our MDA, our minimum descent altitude. You do see a slight line of rain clouds right ahead of us, so we're going to go ahead and record as we fly through this. And while we sit and watch this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys a quick story. So obviously, if you want to skip ahead, go ahead and look below. You'll see timestamps for anywhere you want. But I figured that while I fly through a line of developing storms, I'm going to tell you the story of this past week of how I actually in real life became a flight instructor. So you know, it was a very interesting week. So I've done most of my training in the Piper Cherokee in real life, and it's I flew the 152 for a while back when I lived in Ithaca, but then when I moved out near Albany and started flying the Cherokee, I have now over 200 hours in that plane, so I'm very familiar with it. Well, right as I was finishing up my commercial training, I met this one guy who owns a 152. And this plane, I recognized it before. I'd seen it sat on the ramp, and that plane never flew. So I was kind of wondering, I thought it was kind of sad that there are these planes that just sit on the ramp all day and absolutely never fly. Well, I meet the owner of this when I was working at the FBO there, and it turns out it's just this older gentleman who used to fly all the time before COVID. Then the pilot that he flew with a lot, he does have a private pilot's license, but he doesn't really like to fly by himself too much, and it's understandable. He's an older guy, so totally understand that. He had a pilot that he flew with a lot, but then she moved away, and he ended up not flying after that. Long story short, the dude didn't fly, and I just remembered I never actually punched in my approach because I was gonna talk about this, but it doesn't really matter. We'll just talk when we do that. So, anyways, as I was saying, yeah, so I met this guy at the FBO. We were talking up. He ended up asking me if we could fly together sometime. I'm like, yeah, sure. So we started flying. I started flying his plane to get used to it. And it really wasn't that bad getting back into the 152, but we flew a couple times together, and he ended up saying, hey, I'll let you use my airplane for CFI training. So I got really lucky there, being able to use his airplane for CFI training. He just said, look, just help me take care of this airplane, fly it with me, and the only thing you have to pay for in terms of flight expenses when you use it is the fuel. So that is a deal and a half, if you ask me. So I started using his airplane. You know, I gotta say, like, from an office standpoint, like a cross-country standpoint, I much prefer the Cherokee. You have so much room in these things. But from strictly a pilot standpoint, I love flying the 152. You have so much control over this airplane. Much better. Yeah, it's lighter, but you can really control that thing in crosswind as well, even though it may be a little bit lighter. And let me just turn my panel lights up a little bit. So I just had a blast landing that thing. Power off 180s, you glide so much further than the Cherokee, especially the Arrow. Oh my god, this thing drops like a rock in a power off 180. So, anyways, bottom line is, the 152, if you're transitioning from an Arrow, really not that bad of an experience. Well, anyways, let's move on. So I did my spin training, which was interesting to say the least. I flew with someone who was originally my aviation professor, and after it took a little bit of getting used to. If you look back at my older videos, you'll know I have a habit of just kind of rambling on and not really explaining myself and being a little erratic in what I do, and that was something I had to really get a hang of and control myself in when I started actually trying to teach this stuff and flying well. So that took a little bit of practice, but I think I overall got it. Let's skip ahead to the week of the check ride. So the check ride itself is with an examiner who's the same guy I took my commercial with and same guy I took my instrument with. So I'm like, okay, I know this guy. Deep breaths, we got this. I know his personality. He has quite the personality, as all examiners do. I know all I have to do, really in the end, is not piss him off too much. Like, you can make some mistakes, just don't completely, don't make things up. He will immediately pick that up and detect it. And don't disagree with him, which I think that kind of applies to all DPEs. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and continue with this. So sit down with him, really no discussion at all in terms of, hi, how are you, who are you, because you know how most orals begin with, you sit down and you say who you are and what you want to do and your backstory. Well, I know this guy, I actually worked with him at the FBO for a little bit, so not really much of that. There was a slight delay with getting IACRA stuff. Actually, really nothing on my end. It was actually the instructor who was supposed to sign me off completely forgot to sign my IACRA, so he didn't really, my examiner didn't like that very much, but that wasn't my fault, and he was like, look, you can't really go in and control this. So we just had a discussion on regs from then on. That went okay. Then we did our first lesson plan on runway incursions, which is a special emphasis area for those who aren't aware. And that went okay. There were a couple areas I could have prepared better on, so I was getting a little bit nervous at that point. But then the examiner said, look, let's go ahead and take a coffee break, which was very nice of him. So he let me get up, stretch my legs, grab a coffee. He had a 15-minute long conversation with a different instructor. And then we just did our maneuver lesson plan, our weight and balance lesson plans. We had discussions on all the other points. And from then on, I think I got into my rhythm a lot better. So just straight to the point, no over-explaining. I had a fairly good experience there on the ground portion of that. So that's how that side of the check ride went. Now for the fun part. Now we walk out to the airplane. It's the same 152 that I've been flying since winter when I got my commercial. And we did the pre-flight, had a quick discussion on that, got in the airplane, fire it up, and the examiner goes, and I announce, okay, oil temperature immediately after startup. You always announce oil temperature in the green, or correction, oil pressure in the green, temperature rising, right? And on the 152, you can't expect the oil temperature just to shoot right up. I say that out loud, and he goes, well, how come the temperature's still at the bottom? And I said, well, it takes a while to rise in this airplane. And he goes, really? It's an 80-degree day out, and the plane's been sitting out outside all day, and it hasn't risen an inch. And I'm like, yes, sir. And he goes, do a run-up right now. I don't think this is going to work. I'm like, okay. So I taxied over, did a run-up. We did a few there for a few minutes, and the oil temperature gauge didn't budge. And he said, that's stupid. I cannot let this slide. So for those who don't know, the oil temperature is a required item. It is legally required to be operating. So we had to bring it back, called up a mechanic, and we tried so many things to get this working. We tried, so we knew it was actually the sensor probe, because when we tried a different sensor probe from a different airplane, the oil temperature gauge shot right up. We are 23 miles out now, so I am going to begin my descent checklist. Sorry to interrupt this story, but flying the airplane always comes first. We can keep the props where they are at 23 for now. Just going to go ahead and bring the mixture to full rich. Fuel pump's going to come on. Yes, I know we had a drop in RPM there. Landing light's going to come on, and we'll just go ahead and start a nice light descent. It already wants to descent because I enrich in the mixture there. Just got to keep an eye on those RPMs, make sure we don't overspeed the prop. And we'll do a nice, between a 500 and 1,000, we'll do 700 feet foot per minute descent here. Still 20 miles out from Nori, so we want to be at 3,700 feet by then. So, start our descent now, and I'll keep talking. So, we knew it was the oil sensor oil sensor probe that wasn't really working as good as it should. We tried it on a different, we tried grabbing one from a different airplane, putting it in an oil bath, a hot oil bath, and the gauge shot right up. Here's the issue. This probe that we found was what's the word I'm looking for? It was from a Piper Cherokee, so that wasn't going to work. Well, my instructor actually has a Cessna 150. Okay, let's see if we can take the temperature probe off that airplane. Well, guess what? That's a Continental engine, not a Lycoming, so that doesn't work. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can use the Cessna 150 itself. Well, guess what? I did all my training for this in a 152. I've never flown a 150 before, so we would need to go back through IACRA, do 3 hours of dual training together in that airplane, and then, actually I'm not sure if the 3 hours of dual needs to be in that airplane, but there at least needs to be some training for my examiner to accept that. So, anyways, let's keep going. We tried looking for like 3 different airplanes, and we were having a hard time finding a rental. Examiner goes, okay, we'll call it a day. Here's your discontinuance, we'll meet tomorrow, and also you owe me $450. So that was great, which actually in exam fees isn't that bad, but still. We met the next day, ordered, the night before we ordered a temperature probe, same day shipping, and UPS fucking lost it. UPS lost the temperature gauge, so that did not arrive on time at all. And yeah, the temperature probe did not arrive. Examiner's like, well, that's an issue because I'm going away for a few weeks. But here's the thing, another friend of mine he was doing a commercial check ride for had his check ride in 2 days from then in the morning, and at first the examiner was like, well, that's going to take all day, but then my instructor goes, oh, but this guy got a 100 on the written, and then the examiner goes, oh, okay, so the oral is going to be like not very long. Yeah, I can squeeze you in at the end, but the plane better be working. So anyways, fast forward, we get the oil temperature probe, we put it in the airplane, and guess what? It's still not working, and we're like, shit, what are we going to do? My professor takes it up flying, and sure enough, as soon as the plane takes off, the temperature probe kicks in, and the temperature gauge is in the green, but it only responds when you're in the air. So now my examiner is saying, oh, this is bad because it's the gauge itself that's not working. But he said, look, I'll let you get away with this so long as you have a written statement from the mechanic saying that this is okay. And I'm not sure why he said that, but he did. So that's what we got. And then my professor took it up with a different CFI candidate the night before, and the alternator broke. So at this point, I'm like, oh no, I am screwed. But they said, don't worry, it'll be an easy fix. And the next morning, I got a phone call at 11 saying, hey, look, we got the alternator replaced. They were apparently scrambling to get another 152 from me and the other candidates on standby, but the alternator got fixed very last minute. I took it up flying, and those were, it was 30 knot gusts, which isn't too unreasonable for us. You should be able to fly in 30 knot gusts if you're going to be a CFI. But it's also, you have to keep in mind a 152, so a little lighter than I'm used to. And it was sustained 25. So here I am practicing my engine outs, and it was a pain in the butt. I could not, so I landed, I'm like, oh shoot, there's no way that I am going to pass this. Then I go to my examiner, and he's like, look, I know it's bad, but just try your best. I'm like, okay. We took off at like 1 p.m., did the maneuvers, and I gotta say, I don't mean to toot my own horn, also 1,000 to go, but that was some of the best flying I've ever done. I mean, I was hitting my points, my maneuvers were good, the 8s on pylons and 25 knots sustains. I was just diving down as low as I had to, and the examiner was like, dude, that was perfect. So, and then my landings, dead on the center line, right where I wanted it to be, and he was saying like, dude, this is a 1,600-pound airplane and a 30-knot crosswind, and you are nailing these landings. So overall, it was a pretty good check ride. I got my CFI. That's the story of me. Yes, I know the AWAS. I already grabbed it. To be fair, I do think I kind of sucked on the ground portion because of the issues I brought up earlier. I was getting a little bit nervous and wasn't explaining my first couple items as well as I should have, but we took that coffee break and the rest went well, and after a week of hell with the airplane, we finally got this thing in the air and took the check ride and passed it. So there you go, approaching 4,000 feet now. There's your story and rant of the day. And just going to go ahead and level off. I'm not a double I yet, but that's part of why I want to practice this instrument stuff. I'm going to go ahead and activate this approach now. So we're going to go menu, no, not menu, back, procedure, activate approach, and map. There we go. Now we're direct Nori. Nori, excellent. So stay here at 37. I'd like to not overspeed the props, so I'm actually just going to bring those back just a little bit. Yeah, we should practice hand flying. So autopilot off my airplane completely. Just keep this heading for now, intercept Nori, headed in altitude, and then once it intercepts that, we'll go ahead and start to make that turn on the final. Oh, no hold. I would like to proceed direct to... I said activate the fucking approach, you dingus. Thought I told it... you see, this is why I like my airplane, because I know how to override it in the 450. Anyway, so now that we've just overshot that course a little bit, we're going to fly back. There's the airport right there. I genuinely could just fly this visually. and then learn the Garmin later. So load activate. Is that what it should be? Maps? No, that's not going to work. Okay, screw this. We're going visual. I'm going to go ahead and do some research into that later. Alright, let's go ahead now and just reduce our power. So gas is at undercarriage. We're going to bring down once we actually get within, I believe it's 129 is our gear extension speed, which we're below. So we're going to go ahead and bring our gear down. Mixture is full rich, and props are going to be set to full forward, and I'm just going to reduce manifold pressure now. So here's my question. Usually when I punch this in and I'm trying to activate this approach, activate vectors to final, activate approach, remove approach. I hit activate, and then it'll say, would you like to do the hold? And I can select yes or no on the 450. This is a Garmin, or sorry, at the 430. This is not a 430 though. Huh. Very peculiar. Well, I'm going to figure that out another time, but we have the field in sight, so no need to stress on that. Now comes the part where we become the Cirrus pilot who just blasts in doing Mach 20 on a 20 miles straight in final. In hindsight, I definitely should have delayed that first notch of flaps, but that's okay. Either way, we're on a stable approach now. Gear is down 3 green, mixture full rich, props are full forward, and all switches are set. Fuel pumps on. You can definitely tell you got that slight crosswind out of the south, so definitely going to have to use a little bit of crosswind correction. I think the AWOS only said the winds were like, what, 7 or 8? It wasn't that bad. So we'll fly a 90, which we're doing right now, then reduce it to 80, and then 70. So 90, 80, 70, that should work out. Just so I can get an idea of how much opposite rudder I'm going to have to use. So this is... Oh, okay, not quite that much. Okay, yep, thank you. So just hold that correction in right there. Yeah, and this should work out for me. So let's bring that second notch of flaps in now. Fly 80 down. Still showing that we're high, but that's okay. So basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a slip down. So just to get an idea of how much wind correction I'm going to end up having to put into it. This plane doesn't really fly like the Cherokee 140 or the Cessna 152. It's you have to be much smoother and more stable. With the 152, or the Cherokee for that matter, you can really control your power and altitude just on demand pretty much. You'll see what those who fly the plane would know what I mean. With this airplane, you have to fly it a little bit more like an airliner, right? It's heavy, it's fast. There we go, that's the red over white, so we can add that power back in to keep a nice stable glide.
500.
Yeah, that's just because of the hill, don't worry guys. And we'll start to fly 70 now. So pitch up, reduce a little bit of power. I can already hear my instructor saying, that's not a very stable approach there, Julian. Julian, that was very unstable. I'm like, John, it's 25 knot gusts into a tiny ass runway. I'm just trying to keep it best I can. Also, there's like 50-foot high trees on short final there, John. There we go. This will work out. Now just trim. Go full flaps. Technically, I should wait until we've made the runway, but I'd like to just keep a stable approach for now. Reduce speed just a little bit more. Okay. Hold that right there, hold that right there. And I remember with this airplane, it actually kind of helps to keep just a little bit of power in as you're touching down. So not just completely dumping the power, but just gradually easing it out. Oh, red over red. Hold on, add a little bit of power in. You're unstable. Oh, quiet you. right around here. Go ahead and just fly it all the way down, gradually easing the power out. Just like this. There we go, hold that up. So I was still having a couple hundred RPM of power in with that, so just to give you an idea, and I guess we can let that nose hit the ground now. Bring those flaps up. I guess we really shouldn't do that, but and also hold that aileron correction into the wind. And this is what I mean about how just freaking squiggly this nose wheel is. Let's go ahead and bring this into parking and call it a night. Now that I've landed, now my CFI instincts are starting to kick in, and that's open this up. Give yourself some air without exiting the taxiway. I wonder if I can actually, oh yeah, we can open that nice and wide now. Get that air going. Hello, marshaller. Okay, what are you telling me to do there? You're telling me to stop right where I am? Oh no, go forward, okay. In we go, come on, come on. There we go, more this way. Forgot this plane is a little bit screwed. No, I like where I am. I'm not listening to you. Bring it to a stop right here, you say. Excellent. Park and brake set. Make sure all lights are off. Electrical switches. Go ahead and kill that mixture. And then the mag's off, if it'll let me. Open that door wide up and kill the master switch. So I know it's going to give me that stupid screen of congrats, you finished the flight. Oh wow, ForeFlight predicted that we'd be 59 minutes en route with my aero profile that I use for the aero I fly, and yeah, 58 minutes and 39 seconds, so 59 minutes in reality. So hey, I'm pretty proud of my profile I set up there. Alright everybody, welcome to the Cortland County Airport. Local time is 7:21 p.m. I do hope you enjoyed this flight. You got to see a couple things like how not to fly an RNAV approach using the Garmin 750, and also just see what it's like to fly around some, they weren't really storms, it was just more convective activity here around New York while we were flying. So overall, a fairly decent experience. Granted, you probably got absolutely nothing out of if you were trying to figure out how to use the Garmin in this plane, but that's okay. I don't know how to use it either. We're just here to dig about. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all very soon. Have a good one.